And a very warm welcome back to the World Championship Series 2015. Our first season of the year is well underway. We've already had two groups over in North America. Thank you to our friends over there for their first 2 days. They're going to be back at the end of the month with the last 2 days of the round of 32. In the meantime, sandwiched in between, because, you know, the meat's always the best part of the sandwich, right? We have, of course, 4 groups in a row, starting today with Group C. We've already had one game. Let's just check out the bracket, actually, and show you exactly what happened in our first game. Bunny versus Major, and Bunny winning 2-1 after coming back from 1 map down, which means we move on to our second game of the group, MaNa versus viOlet. Stefano's back with us. Apollo's also joining us. My French friend.
Tell me.
Game 1.
Yeah.
Major wins in 22 minutes, just saying.
Just saying, yeah.
And your prediction looks good, but then it kind of fell apart, or...
Honestly, I think I was right. Besides the fact that I didn't pick the good winner, and I didn't pick the correct score, I picked the good time on 2 games out of 3.
So let me get this right. So in a prediction game, you didn't get the winner.
No.
You didn't get the right score.
No.
And the other 2 maps went longer.
No. Oh, yeah, kind of, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not that wrong, right? I bet.
I'm sure there's some logic, there's some Stefano logic there somewhere.
I actually meant this score, but because of the French accent, you need to understand what I was saying.
Oh, so it's me.
Yeah.
With you.
Yeah,
you're right, yeah. It's my fault, Sean.
At least he chose the Terran to win.
I did.
Yeah, that would have been difficult, wouldn't it? Would have been very difficult if you got that one wrong. Right, okay. I think we need a couple of players, don't we? Because we haven't, got them out yet. So before we talk and rabble on about our second matchup, it's time to bring out our 2 players. Now, as we said before the break, if this were 2012, these 2 would be fighting over their 5th title of the year. As it is, it's been a bit of a barren patch, but he's about to change that. The man from Poland, please welcome Team Liquid's MaNa. A former winner of the MLG Spring Championship, a former winner of the Intel Extreme Masters Championship as well. But again, both of those were in 2012. It's been a while for this man too. The first man ever to get a professional athlete visa as a StarCraft II player in America. Please welcome viOlet.
The Surgeon Zerg's back.
The Surgeon Zerg.
It's been a long time since he's seen that mask.
Indeed, yeah, it has been. He's particularly well right now. Just joined a brand new team as well, Team Envy Us, which been making waves recently with a lot of big name signings as well, and they've now picked up viOlet. It's great for them to be involved in StarCraft as well.
It's great for him. He's been without a team for a very, very long time now. He's been a part of an agency, and I guess the agency done good.
Did do good. Did very good. Stefano, you had viOlet down as your favourite in the group, purely based on where he was born.
Based on the flag in the graphic.
No, I actually know the players. On this one, I can fully express my opinion, I think. And I know MaNa has a lot of troubles in PvZ, I mean, since the beginning.
Since he started playing you, actually.
You
gave him nightmares back in the day.
Maybe that's the reason, like, he's bad nowadays in this matchup, because he has, like, a mandal blocking because of Brood Lords and Festor.
Do you know what your record is against MaNa, by the way?
I think it was 19-0.
No, I think you lost one, no?
No, yeah.
19-1 maybe?
Maybe lost one.
Was like 26-0 and MaNa 19-1, yeah.
In Premier tournaments, 11-5 in matches. 11-5.
Yeah.
28-14 overall. So
one of the time I lost to MaNa, this happens.
Right.
If you can see. But
yeah, I can see that. They can't see that at home, but I can see that.
Yeah.
And it was, well, those policemen were good.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just say that.
Yeah. Respectful. They treated me well, honestly, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on before we get into any more
trouble.
Please. Map selections have begun, or map eliminations have begun. Catalina's gone Inferno, Secret Spin. Any surprises, Sean?
The difficult maps are going for the right races. It's quite simple, really. Inferno Pool, no one likes it, not even Zerg. Everyone vetoes it, so I probably could bet money on not seeing it once the entire of the season. And then pretty standard, to be honest. Secret Springs and Catalina can be pretty difficult for Zerg. And I don't know what's next. It depends, I guess, on MaNa. Have you managed to play some of these new ones? Vanny Research Station is the one with the pocket expansion that's inside your main.
That one is good. Overgrowth is really good for Zerg. And then Dwing-ish.
Yeah,
I mean, like, all the maps are good, I think, like for Zerg.
I think MaNa would have got rid of Overgrowth, right?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
Expedition Lost is the one with the rocks that empty your main base, which is really good, I think.
Yeah, it is. Like, I really feel like the map pool is not good for Protoss nowadays. Or like the rocks and the third base really hard for Protoss, though. They're kind of forced to play two base a lot.
And I think that kind of maybe MaNa's style over the years, Stefano.
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, map vetoes completed. Den Wing, Expedition, Varney research will be the three. Any thoughts on the map selections?
Not really. I mean,
Fairly
it plays a small impact on the series, but to be honest, it's still very close to the series, at least for me.
Okay, let's talk about the two players in a little bit more depth. MaNa first. I've mentioned that both of these players, their last big title was 2012, which, you know, doesn't seem that long ago, but actually 3 years in StarCraft terms is a huge amount of time. Having said that, similar to Bunny, 2014 was actually a decent year for MaNa. When you look through his results, and I've got a list here, go through it. Top 12, Home Story Cup. Top 16, DreamHack Summer. Top 8, DreamHack Summer. IEM Cologne, 9th to 12th. DreamHack Valencia, 9th to 16th. Home Story Cup, 9, 13th. So top 16s and top 12s and top 8s throughout the year. No wins, but the kind of competition he was up against was probably better than it was in 2012.
Yeah, MaNa really struggled, I think, when he moved into Heart of the Swarm. He never really played that good, I suppose, in Heart of the Swarm.
13 was a tough year, wasn't it, for him?
13 was really difficult. So the good side is that 14 was much better than 13 for him, and hopefully 15 could be another good year, an improvement.
Any thoughts on MaNa? I mean, you've played him a number of times.
He has always been really consistent, but like he's missing something to just go ahead. Like only one victory in a tournament, and I feel like he always falls to Zergs in a way, no? Mainly to Zergs. Like from the few tournaments I've watched, he loses to Zergs. So, but I have faith in him. Honestly, I have faith.
Okay, faith in the Protoss here. What about the Zerg viOlet? He's a difficult chap to kind of quantify in some ways. Again, a fantastic year in 2012. 2013, not really anywhere. I mean, Challenger League in WCS America Season 1. That's how bad it was. But
all due down to visa issues.
Absolutely, was the issues, wasn't it? But then last year, you look at his results again, in a similar fashion. 3rd, MLG Anaheim. 3rd, 4th, Red Bull Atlanta. 5th, 8th, Intel Extreme Masters Toronto. Red Bull Detroit, top 4 again. MSI beat it, top 12. There's some decent results in there, even if he didn't win another tournament.
Very good results, but at the start of the last 2 years, he's had something that's held him back. As you mentioned before, 2012 towards the end of it, leading into 2013, or 2013 leading into whatever it was, he got hit by visa issues, and he almost quit and retired from StarCraft. And just over the winter period recently, he got into a car accident and was spent a month in hospital. It took him 3 months to get back to training StarCraft and getting back into the gym, and it really hurt his 2015 start to the year. He had to go back to learning Zerg from the basics, and I think you can know this better than anyone. Zerg from the basics is got to learn how to lava inject again, got to learn how to creep spread again, things that you were never really good at anyway, mate. But it's really difficult to learn these again, and he's now jumped into WCS straight away. And he's going to have to really show that.
All I can do is like bow to his dedication, because one small trouble in my career and I would have stopped, I think.
I mean, you just build Stormhost, right?
Huh?
You just build Stormhost.
I mean, it's not that easy. Like you say that as it is easy, but it's quite difficult.
Really?
I mean, like you have to make the tea.
Yeah.
Like, put sugar in it.
Yeah.
Have a spoon and get everything ready.
Hold on, what's that? Yeah, that's the world's smallest violin playing. Right, so in terms of viOlet, I mean, you've said it, he's had his problems, but he's found a great team now. Team MVS, fantastic organisation to be a part of. And also, when you look at the way he's played MaNa in the past, yes, he lost the last time they played, but it was online, so you can't really figure too much of that. But the last 3 times he played MaNa before that, offline, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. That's got to hold well today, hasn't it?
I think when it comes to head-to-head, I think viOlet, over the years, just seemed to be the better player. And including MaNa's tendency and weakness versus kind of plays in viOlet's favour in this series.
Okay, so predictions then. Where are we going, Stefano?
Unless you go first this time.
What do you mean this time? It's my first time.
I mean...
but I'll go first this time. viOlet will win 2-1.
viOlet 2-1.
Okay, because I can't agree with you. I say viOlet wins 2-0.
But you agreed kind of with me.
No. I mean,
viOlet wins.
Yeah. But...
Are you going for a game time against Stefano?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to do it because I'm not scared of...
being wrong.
You're not scared of bets. Let's
putting
just say
shame on my name, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's say 17, 18, 19. 17, 18, sorry.
So 2-0, 17, 18, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just be clear. viOlet, 2-0. And minutes 17 and 18.
And 35.
Ouais, un truc du genre, quoi. Ouais.
Okay.
So 35 minutes for 2-0. If I'm going 2-1, a combined game length of, you said 35, 42 and 27 seconds.
27?
No, 42
27.
minutes
Yeah.
and 27 seconds.
Oh, at the second you want to play it?
What, you want to...
Okay, sure.
So you were 35 minutes and...
17:00 and 18:00.
Okay, Team Liquid. We hope you're writing that down in the live thread so that we can follow it on Team Liquid. That'd be very useful for us to monitor their progress and keep us up to date as to where these two incredible predictions have gone. Thank you to Apollo and to Stefano. Let's find out which one of them is right or whether any of them are right. It's time for our second game. In Group C, our commentary team for this one, Kalaris and Todd.
All right, thanks, guys, for those very specific numbers as we get into this series now. This is going to be MaNa going up against viOlet. To me, listening to the headline of that fight, it's kind of an old-school fight, really. These two, they were on the pinnacle of performance a while ago. As such, since then, not doing as well, but they're still here, they're still contending in this round of 32, so...
Yeah, I think it was Red Eye who said that if this was 2012, they would be looking for their sixth title. Times have changed. They don't do nearly as well nowadays. They're still two very strong players, but not necessarily the strongest in this group. And I think it was Apollo as well who said that winning here is going to be very important. Neither of these guys wants to be in the losers match versus Major.
Yeah. And there's the potential as well that even if they do go to the winners match, obviously they're where they want to be, they want that chance to go through it in first place. Then if you end up losing there, of course, you've got to potentially fight another Terran down to the bottom. As viOlet now getting ready for game number 1 here on Deadwing, as is MaNa. And I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out. Again, with these two going up against one another and the two Terran powerhouses that sit in this group, this is very important for one of them, at least, to get through to that winners match. Keep their hopes alive in this group, as this group is so stacked. But anyway, let's get into it. Spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, it is our red Zerg, representing Team NV. It is viOlet. And up to the top right-hand corner, it's our blue Protoss. Once again, representing Team Liquid in true colors, it is MaNa.
I'm a little bit surprised that MaNa actually vetoed Overgrowth. This is, I feel like a map that's played in almost every single series, so I wonder, and pretty balanced too, I wonder if maybe MaNa is a little bit scared of, the potential for viOlet to go for Swarm Host, on one of the smaller maps. Overgrowth, definitely one of the better maps to go into Swarm Hosts. Whereas here on Deadwing, especially cross map, is going to be very, very difficult to pull off, which makes it a lot more likely for viOlet to play a different style. MaNa versus Zerg, though, he's gone through some tough times. For the longest time, he was very, very stubborn and almost always opening with Stargate Phoenixes, going to Colossus. He also had his period of time where he played with a lot of Immortal Pushes. That was actually one of the only times where he beat Stefano, was mostly with Immortal Pushes. So one thing to keep in mind here, maybe in one of the games he might throw one of those in to try and do well.
And for the longest time, viOlet was a guy that could throw out crazy builds himself, in this matchup especially. He's actually going for a drone scout to start things off here in this matchup.
Back in Wings of Liberty, at a time where Zergs were fairly passive, to say the least, going a lot into Brewlord, Infestors and all that. And even before that, viOlet was one of the first Zergs that was, I guess, got a recognition worldwide as one of the most aggressive Zergs out there. And ever since, he's always kept that. He's always liked to play very aggressive. I mean, we're on Deadwing now, so we're going to see economic openers almost every single time, with MaNa going with the gasless Gateway, however, Nexus. And yeah, I think it's pretty interesting already the way MaNa is going for a build that nobody really does, and that's kind of gonna throw off viOlet here, because you don't usually play against this Gateway, no gas, and then Nexus. All the timings are gonna be a little bit different. which can make it really hard to read into what your opponent is doing.
Well, at least the drone got over here nice and quick and spots everything that's going on. So he has a good read, at least, on what is happening over here. Likewise, though, there was a probe that entered the base over on the other side and had a little look around as well. Noticed that there wasn't a super quick third hatchery going down by any chance. So at least he can match him toe-to-toe in terms of the economy for a while.
He saw the gas, which is very important. And the extractor here by viOlet was a reaction to seeing, such a quick and early gateway. In which case you need to get, speed going so that you can make sure you can get enough links to defend, and you have speed to prevent pylons from going up on the map. Maybe punish a very greedy build. Like, for example, if you hadn't gone for a gas here, you could have maybe seen something crazy out of MaNa, like a very, very quick third and a wall there. Whereas now, having double gas already here, MaNa is rushing a Mothership Core. You don't need to get your Mothership Core this early usually, and he's getting a Stalker as well. So maybe a little bit of a hint here for some potential aggression.
And there's a probe down to the bottom right that's actually going to hide itself there for a little while.
The Huck probe, man.
The Huck probe. I can't even remember what that was. That was so long ago.
The Huck probe is the probe hidden out like this, which always succeeds in planting down a pylon and going for some aggression.
But will it succeed? That's the
Crouching
question.
probe, hidden pylon.
Oh.
Tasteless will say that for sure.
Oh, yes, he would. That is definitely a tasteless line. Well, we're going to see if he can actually do anything with that later on. Stalker should be able to push this Overlord away and be totally happy and confident with that. And maybe get that wall going at the front as well, because speed has started here for viOlet. He doesn't want anything flooding in.
MaNa might just be wanting to make viOlet paranoid here with those early on units. Since he's going for a sentry now, I'm already starting to think that he might just want to go for a very quick third base. And, just kind of like play it safe, take to blink, get his +2 and all that, which is, again, on this map, one of the best builds, if not the best build, that you can go for against the Zerg.
And this is the best map for him to go for like a quick third, really, considering the map pool that we've got open here for a Protoss, I would say.
Definitely. The thing is, against a Zerg like viOlet, who has this reputation of playing very aggressive, one of the good things that you can do is play very defensive, have very good force fields, scout what he's going for, and defend perfectly everything that he throws at you. And then once you find yourself ahead enough to go for an attack, then you go for it. But if you play aggressive, this might play right into his hand, because he's the one getting units out, he's the one who wants to fight. viOlet never backs down for a fight.
And he didn't really either scout down to the bottom right to spot whether or not there was a probe out on the map. The Lings have been a little bit passive in regards to that. And there is already this pylon being thrown down with the Mothership Core slowly positioning itself to start an assault if it were to come along. But +1 weapons have started behind this. So if any aggression is going to come out from here, it's going to be light aggression to force units and maybe get a few kills.
Yeah, viOlet sees all of those units now, and as in just a few Stalkers. And I think he was already kind of anticipating it very well. So he's already made a first batch of 10 Lings and then 14 more. So with having 28 Zerglings this early on, he's going to be able to shut down this attack completely.
Yeah, a few came in a little bit staggered there, but they should be able to shut this down in the end. Forces out the recall, and will check up at the top there for that pylon, clean that up and make sure that nothing else is going on from there. So, but at least, the third base is going down. This bought a little bit of time for that to happen on the other side of the map here, as we were kind of anticipating MaNa doing.
Yeah. MaNa went for a Forge a little bit late here, so he's chrono boosting out his +1 a lot. He gets the Twilight Council about the time +1 is halfway through done, so he's going to line up very well with when he wants to start Blink and +2. And walling off the third base here, he's basically going to go into a massive amount of Blink Stalkers with the +2, and then from there he can decide what to do. Does he go for an attack with more gateways? Maybe he takes to Colossus. The key point here is going to be the scouting with the hallucinated phoenixes that he has at his disposal to see exactly what the Zerg is up to and react accordingly.
I see a lot of Protoss actually foregoing the idea of a robo facility for quite a while in this matchup nowadays, because Blink Stalkers offer so much presence on the map, so much pressure that the Zerg has to constantly be making units to try and deal with that. But look at this, Infestation Pit already coming out very, very quickly here for viOlet.
He flew by, but I don't know if he clicked or saw it. So, I mean, this could be a Hydralisk den for all he knows. So MaNa is going to have to go for a follow-up scout here to make sure that he's aware of what's happening exactly and react accordingly. And in this case, I mean, once we see the Infestation Pits, it's almost never, for quick Vipers or a transition from Roach into Ultras when you're getting missile attacks. It's almost always going to be for the Swarmhost.
Yeah, so viOlet's creep spread in the middle, not been as aggressive as it could be to try and aid something like that if it was to come along here. But Burrow already ends up starting. He may end up... there's the Swarmhost already beginning as well. And Locust didn't start.
Interesting that he gets a Spire. This could be a 10 Swarm host into Mutas, which on this map, if you can rush up to a lot of bases quickly, and I see viOlet is already almost up to a 4th base, you can do very well with this kind of play. Because your opponent, once he sees the Swarm host, a lot of the time they're going to want to take to Colossus, try and be aggressive here and there, but you can shut it down. And then while they're getting Colossus, you save a lot of gas, you go for a big batch of Mutas, you counterattack, and then you force them into a very difficult position. So we'll see. Maybe viOlet hasn't made up his mind yet as to what he's going to be making out of that Spire.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, still no Enduring Locust here for these Swarm hosts.
Ooh, those units.
Moving out into the middle. Gotta be careful.
If he gets caught and all of this dies, the counterattack will be deadly here. And actually, MaNa is going to move out now, and this attack is looking very scary. And back at home, he has enough to defend as well.
And Warps and Stalkers to be able to block that little gap. There is a cannon or two there to start things off in terms of the defense. And a few more Stalkers actually reinforced as well. That's not that many Locusts to really contend the small. It's not too big a Protoss force. So it's going to be up to force fields to do quite a bit here.
The static defense is not ready here back at home for viOlet. I mean, he does have a bunch of Swarmos, but the army of MaNa is going to get on top of it, and there is an Observer.
Uh-oh. He's actually just going to lose quite a few of these Swarmos very, very quickly before they've all actually got together. The Locusts can't really do much when they're coming in these small chunks. They are killing off a few of the Stalkers, so that's good.
Yeah.
But the force fields, as we were mentioning before, have to choke off these points and make sure nothing can get through. More reinforcements.
Yeah, MaNa needs to keep his sentries alive. Like, this set of force field was good, but he started losing a few of them. He's down to 4. As soon as they run out, it's going to be much easier for viOlet to deal with this, both with the Locusts and Roaches that he has and can use.
He got the Observer as well with the Spore Crawlers. So even if he's to break through onto some of those Swarm hosts, I mean, there's only 3 of them, so they don't pose a huge amount of threat, but at least he can't actually deal with them right now. So they will always be doing damage for quite a while. Time Warp will land on a few of these Zerglings and Roaches that are trying to get the surround, and MaNa keeps continuing to reinforce with Gateway forces.
viOlet needs to buy some time here, but he chooses to fight before the reinforcements are there. And now some Zealots being in the 4th base, they're going to be undefended for quite a bit. I think MaNa here is looking to just close out this game. Even though viOlet is ahead, it's Roaches.
Yeah.
And they are not that good against that many Stalkers with +2.
Yeah, +2 on Blink. It works out very, very well. He's brought down that 4th base. He could even start working on those rocks for extra attack paths if he wanted to. But if he sandwiches these units together, the Observer is being produced. It's on the way. And all it needs to do is just get over there and help out, but it's going to take a little while.
Yeah, MaNa behind this is even getting a second Robo for the double Colossus production. He starts a 4th base, which is getting attacked by some Zerglings, but I mean, he should be able to do maybe a little bit more damage. If he was to just stand below that 3rd base of viOlet, he would be able to shoot down some of these drones and he would be uncontested.
I mean, getting the 4th base alone is pretty big at this point, right? With him getting his own 4th base with the double Robo production now going on, he's getting a few more Swarm hosts out, but again, without Enduring Locust, it's almost purely defensive. There's not much more they can do without Enduring Locust, but of course he's scrambling to actually survive here because there's also a drop in his natural with a big, big warp in here for MaNa to do even more economical damage.
MaNa actually has so much minerals. It's so smart by him to do this. Drop some Zealots here and there, try to pull his opponent out of position. He jumps on top of the Swarm host, and he's going to get a lot of these snipes now.
Yeah, there's 7 more in production, but they need to come out very, very quickly. They're all scattered across the other locations as well. He's going to deny the 4th base from continuing on. And the Zealots in the main base did get cleaned up, so at least viOlet was able to get that. But he can't stabilize. He's having a very, very difficult time of it here.
I can see you, Swarmhost. You're gonna die.
Well, he's gonna blink back and get those ones. That's a lot of Roaches, actually. He needs to be careful.
viOlet at this point, what is he supposed to do? He's nowhere near a hive. He finally starts a hive. He has a Spire that's completely useless to him. So he's gonna start a Hydralist Den as well, but I mean, he's losing all of his Roaches right now.
Yeah, he got a Colossus for his troubles, but as you said, losing all of these Roaches, the Stalkers are going to separate themselves off in 2 directions. But once double Colossus production actually makes its way over there, it's going to be difficult to hold on with just the 3 bases worth of economy.
I like MaNa's position in this game, but he hasn't done it yet. And I've seen him in the past get ahead sometimes against Zerg, but then completely somehow mess up the game and then lose. He's going to have to be careful for this game not to be one of those, you know.
Yeah.
Stefano was even thought that he was 19-0 against MaNa, which that's how...
It's an ambitious number.
Yeah, that's how much he used to beat this guy. Back at a time when MaNa really, really struggled up against Zerg.
You know, the Stalkers and Colossi are going to move forwards again here, and those Stalkers still very, very difficult to be fully trifled with just by those Roaches alone. The Locusts need to be out in force to help this out. There is still the Observer here present with this army, so once these Roaches end up falling to the 2 Colossi that are doing a lot of damage here from the back.
Why is viOlet fighting? He just needs to stand back, wait for the Locusts to to reappear. He's throwing away his entire army, and all of a sudden he's too far behind.
There you go. GG. Game number 1 goes to MaNa. A well-fought, very aggressive start here from him off the back of a third base to really push the initiative. And unfortunately for viOlet, he really got caught in that point where he had very few units at all. He was rocketing up to the swarm hosts, which really didn't do the business for him.
I talked a little bit with viOlet this morning, and he was telling me that he mostly focused on turn for his practice, because he thought that he was telling me basically, I already know how to play against Protoss, so I wanted to focus on turn because I have 2 turn. You know, you have choices to make when you get a group like this. You have 2 turns, 1 Protoss, and he chose to mostly focus on the turns because he thought, you know, it was a pretty hard matchup for him, and he definitely needs to beat at least one of those turns, if not both, to advance. So in this case, maybe neglected a little bit his practice up against Protoss. At least in the first game, it kind of looked so, because he was pretty shaky.
Yeah, I mean, he never got use of that Spire. We didn't see as much creep spread as we would like for a Swarm Host build and style, but again, there was no Enduring Locust, so maybe it was purely defensive. But anyway, guys, we're going to go to a short 3-minute break, and then when we're back, we're going to have more WCX action between viOlet and MaNa. right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series, as we'll be getting into game number 2 in just a little bit between MaNa and viOlet, after MaNa was able to take a 1-0 victory. Pretty well there, actually. Pretty impressively, with a lot of aggression after that third base was to go down, just from a lot of gateway units. What do you think viOlet could have done differently in that scenario?
I think not go for Spire this early, and I can't believe I'm going to say that, but make more Swarmost.
Okay.
Would have helped him secure, I guess, the defense and that fourth base, and he would have been in a much better spot, or maybe more roaches. You know, even though he didn't make that many drones, he just really felt like he didn't have enough units. You know, he was on the map with like a bunch of units, which the counterattack didn't do anything at all. So overall, it felt like he was a little bit unprepared for MaNa's attacks. MaNa, he went up to a lot of gateways, and he didn't take gases on his third base for the longest time, and he didn't even make that many probes there. So he committed a lot to this aggression that he went for. But it's still very usual to go for this follow-up aggression when you go for a quick third base and blink and +2. So a little bit surprised, because he kind of looked like viOlet got caught off guard here.
It's a good point that you bring up. Because the amount of gas that you actually dedicate to Spire, and also there was actually Burrow going down at the same time as well, whilst those initial swarm hosts were coming out. That's a lot of gas taken away from the idea of unit production whilst you're going to be hit with a frontal assault. So I'm wondering how avidly he was paying attention to the movement out as well. When we saw MaNa actually move into the middle of the map, he had a lot of vision everywhere, actually, on the left and the right-hand side. Maybe he was anticipating some kind of warp prism play, but that wasn't what came at the beginning. So going to have to be very, very cautious here, going on to Expedition Lost.
This was the saddest Spire ever, man. It was made and then never used.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
I really wonder what was the reasoning behind the Spire, actually. Like, was he already thinking Corruptor? Surely not. Like, you can get, Colossus to go for an attack this early. So, I really don't know. Did he want to start getting upgrades already, for a possible Muta transition, but then he kind of neglected the gases on his third base? But maybe that was because the attack ended up being much bigger and stronger than he had anticipated. So many questions, Kailaris.
So many questions.
And only one guy has the answers.
Yeah, the guy with the mask.
Right now, so I can't ask him.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like the idea of the Spire, because we saw what MaNa's game plan was. It was the Stalkers just into Colossi from that point on. So if the Spire had come to full fruition, he could have had his Corruptor transition going. But anyway, we're going to get into game number 2 now. Here, it's going to be on Expedition Lost to find out if MaNa can move on 2-0, if viOlet can tie it up 1-1. These two players looking to move on in the round of 32, but it's a tough group. A very tough group. Up to the top right-hand corner, it's our red Zerg representing Team NV. It is viOlet. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, representing Team Liquid, currently 1 game up in this best-of-3 series, it is MaNa.
MaNa going for the all-Liquid winners match here, possibly. Why does Liquid always perform so well, man?
I don't know.
They just have it in them.
They do. And it's, as much as Red Eye before was saying, it's the idea of a curse that they end up in the same group. If both of them are in the winner's match, at least one Liquid player is going through. So that's the best way to look at it. That's an optimist's
I thought you were going to say, if they both advance, then they can't meet again as well for some time.
That's a good point, too.
Okay, MaNa is going to go for the Gateway 13 here once again. And probably for the same thing. He goes for a scout after it, though. Wants to make sure he's not getting rushed by anything. And we had, I think, a pull 13 here.
Yeah.
By viOlet.
I wasn't expecting that to come out from here. It kind of gives rise to the idea of what you were mentioning before, though, of he hasn't practiced as much for a Protoss. He's more focused on the idea of Terrans. So if going for this early pull, if he could get some damage done against something like a Nexus first, if that was to go along, then it would be great. But that's not the case on the other side of the map.
I think viOlet right now going for the pull 13 is going to want to be aggressive with some Zerglings, and he's hoping that MaNa either went for the same build or went for something even greedier, with the Nexus first. In which case, you force your cancel on that Nexus almost every single time, and then you put the Protoss in defensive posture while you expand yourself, because he's going to have enough economy to keep his drone production going, to get a Queen out. So I kind of like this so far. It's going to be really for MaNa to get a good reaction going. to be able to handle this well and, not fall behind.
And he's going to be able to position his cybernetics core at the top of the ramp here as well as MaNa, just adding a little bit of a wall off there as that goes along. Wondering if he's actually going to add on a Zealot pretty quickly. He needs to have at least a unit out.
A gas being made already behind this here by viOlet. Maybe some kind of massling follow-up possibly on this map. If he's able to get a cancel on that second Nexus or even, prevent a wall from going down at that ramp, the big ramp below the natural base, going for massling speed could be a good thing that he can do. And also, he's chased that probe away. Like it's on the map right now. There's not going to be any follow-up scout supposedly, so viOlet doesn't look like he wants to go for the Nexus cancel. He went purely into drones behind this. Didn't make any extra Zerglings yet. So he only has the 6 Zerglings that he made originally. So he's not going to force a cancel on that Nexus. And I mean, he's not going to achieve anything here. Mothership core is going to start on the natural immediately. MaNa can get either a Stalker or a Sentry ASAP behind this with the gas that he's going to get. Speed starts, no.
At least this, even if it is not something very, very aggressive with speed, at least he has the opportunity to control the map for a little bit. But he's down in workers quite severely there for a second. It was 22 to 18. And that's, all of those Zerglings could have been drones, basically.
Oh, yes, they always can. Especially when Ret or Snoot are playing. That's true. They are usually. And that's why sometimes they die to cheese, but sometimes they pull very far ahead because of the droning up that they've done. In this case, in this game now, viOlet, as much as he's going to have speed, what's his plan here? Does he only drone? Does he try and catch back up in the walker camp? Right now, he's still 2 walkers behind. He's in such an awkward spot, and I think he's just going to try to drone up, take another base. He stopped mining gas after just 100. And he really has nothing going for him, I feel. Other than, he's going to have speed and some initiative. Surely MaNa is going to be able to spot that here very soon. He's going to wall off his base. He's going to play it safe. 6 link start. This could be the beginning of something. Okay, 10 in total, plus a 3rd base here. So viOlet is definitely thinking about aggression, but only 10.
Yeah, the 3rd base makes it seem kind of very middle of the road. Maybe he's anticipating the idea of controlling around the 3rd base locations or anything moving out to a 3rd base, just in case a quicker one were to go down, similar to what we saw on Deadwing.
Which is smart, because when you force a Protoss to go into a Zealot, a Mothership Core, and a lot of the time a Stalker, which was made here, they're not going to be able to help it. And they're always going to go for some kind of counter-aggression with the extra gateways that they get behind it. So if MaNa is not able to kind of realize what's happening and moves out, he could get punished here for it. But there's going to be a recall available. So viOlet should not commit all that much to this. But look at how many gateways are being dropped down.
That's a lot. MaNa saw Lings on the left and on the right, at both his rocks and at the front of his base. So he knows he can't really move out to take a 3rd base at this point. He has to spend that money elsewhere. It's going to be gateways for now, but does he just go full aggression with this? Is that a possibility here?
Yes, definitely. He's going to want to be aggressive with this, see where it takes him. If he gets in trouble, he can recall out, he can transition, but ideally he would like to do as much damage as possible. Lair only starts now for viOlet, who didn't skip the roach run. If he had skipped the roach run, I think he would have just died, no matter what. But now, getting that one, he's going to be able to get some roaches. And he should have an okay chance of defending, even though right now, with all the gateways that MaNa is going to have, the sentries that he's made early on that are building up on energy, I quite like how this push is looking here for him.
Yeah, it could work out nicely. There was a slight delay in when viOlet saw that, as the Lings didn't see it at the front. It was the Overlord that saw it that eventually died off. But he manages to save his wall, and he is warping in some aggressive units over at that 3rd, which is so hard to keep here as a Zerg.
On this map, taking a 3rd base can be so challenging. The 3rd base is just so far away from everything else. And I think MaNa is just banking on that to bring him some success. Like, units are going to start streaming in from left and right here. viOlet, he's made 3 spines, but they're not really going to do anything. He can move them to that position, but MaNa already has so many sentries, stalkers, and zealots there.
He's already rallying his roaches over towards the natural, even from the 3rd, so I think he's foregone the idea of actually being able to establish that. But MaNa's just going to go straight for the jugular here, get a few of these roaches, catch some of them with the force fields at the front, and the spine crawlers are trying to work against this. They're not doing too badly for themselves, but as they fall, there's not much left here. There's just a few roaches, but they're not coming out in the right numbers to be able to shut this down.
MaNa has more army supply than a Zerg that's going for roaches. This is going to mean bad news here for viOlet, who's on 19 army supply to 36 now. He only has 6 roaches and 8 lings.
What a disaster here to start things off for viOlet in this series. The drones have to come off the line to hold on against this, but there's so much firepower here from MaNa. The time warp slowed them down, those units down even just for a little bit, whilst all those drones were dying off, and only a few roaches left. The economy has been gutted. There's not much more viOlet has. GG. MaNa advances on 2-0 and makes it an all-liquid first match in the winners match. Impressive stuff.
Very, very well played here by MaNa, identifying how far away he was from the opener, not overreacting, not really doing any mistakes, you know. He built up his work account, he got a few gateways, and a lot of protesters would like kind of, you know, I would say maybe fell asleep on their advantage here, you know, just try to play standard from there, but not MaNa. He knew exactly how far ahead he was and how much the gateway damage will do, or maybe not. Maybe he thought he was only going to do some damage here and there, but in this case, he just right out killed his opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm estimating here, but I think MaNa probably assumed that series would have been a little bit more difficult overall. viOlet unfortunately kind of keeled over there, and MaNa was able to take the victory pretty cut and dry. There wasn't much to that other than a very, very strong gateway presence there by MaNa. So
cut and dry, I agree, James.
Cut and dry, man. Fair play, fair play. All right, well, I think we're very, very soon done here at the caster's desk. That was some impressive stuff there by MaNa. Let's hear from him, moving on to the winners match.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, with Brigham MaNa, I mean, I don't really know what to say about that game because it was pretty straightforward. Sean and I were discussing upstairs, and I said, "Well, what'd you ask him?" Well, did he worry about making mistakes? Was about all you can really ask him in that game.
I think I did a lot of mistakes
You still do?
I think
okay.
so, yeah. But I think viOlet made more mistakes, and I came out ahead. I actually didn't want to finish the game with the pushing on Deadwing, for example, but it worked out so well. He was kind of out of position with his army. I predicted every single move he did, and it worked out much better than I expected. And I was like too excited to finish the game already that I made like more mistakes after that, macro mistakes. But I think I played okay-ish to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too hard on viOlet, but that didn't seem like the viOlet we saw last year. It didn't seem as crisp and strong as he's played before.
You know, it's also like the first series of the day. You are quite stressed about that. It's the most important tournament in the beginning of the year. I was also stressed a lot, so I think that can like make your play a little bit worse than usual. But after you calm down, you get better. You get used to the environment. You know, it's also a new nice studio over here, so I think that could have an impact on his game as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I think over the last 2 years, we've used the same studio. You guys, you know, I know you come in like the day before, you sit down, you get your SSD off Graham, you know exactly where to go and what to do, and it all feels kind of normal after you've done it a couple of times. But how different is it?
I like it. You know, you have like the interaction with the crowd. They are much closer to you. You feel the cheer after you win the game. That's always very nice. It's also like I think it's more professional over here. I really like it. When I was sitting on the audience watching Game 3 Bunny versus Major, it looked clean, nice. That's the studio I want to be in, even if I would be just on the audience.
Okay. All right. Well, I do have a question for you, MaNa.
Go ahead.
Obviously, Team Liquid, very well known for its Skype group, talking together and kind of discussing upcoming games. What type of preparation did the team, friends, give you for viOlet? Was there much?
That was just me.
Everything you.
You know,
it was on me. I am Team Liquid.
You know, we are Team Liquid. We are so many players in Premier League. It's two already through, and 2 more to go. So we cannot really help each other that much. You know, we don't want to share our information that much because we might meet in that tournament. And all in all, even though we're all teammates, it's all individual league in here.
That's it. Sorry, Sean. That's interesting because I was going to ask you about practicing Bunny because I sat upstairs with him, and I said to him, "Would you prefer viOlet?" He was like, I would prefer viOlet, really. Yeah. And then I was like, why? He said, well, because we play each other a lot and we practice and it's difficult and you kind of know each other.
Yeah, we know each other very well with Bunny, and this is going to be an interesting match, I think. What I'm very happy about is 1 Liquid through, so it's 3 out of 4 for sure in the round of 16, and I think Liquid is going to be quite happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. When you watched the draw, were you like, it always happens whenever ESL does a tournament, whether it's WCS or ESL or Intellect Street, we always end up with two. Did you think I'm going to end up with another Liquid, did you?
I saw the group. I was like, okay, this is probably the hardest group out of the round of 32, and I was not shaken by that. If you want to be the best, you need to compete with the best and win versus the best. And if you're in a meh group, you are going to pass it, and then people will be like, yeah, okay, well, he was supposed to pass it. But when you're in a tough group and you pass it with a good score, then people will remember you for that.
I do have one final question.
Sure.
Are you going to improve on 2014? You definitely improved on 13 to 14. Can you promise me and everyone else and Red Eye, especially us, that you're going to improve into 2015 too?
Yeah, I am. I've been in Liquid for a year already, and I think being in Liquid helped me a lot. I have great teammates. We share a lot of information, maybe not particularly for this tournament, as I said, but we practice a lot. We talk together a lot, and we're all on a equally high skill, I believe, and that helps a lot. So I think improvement is just a matter of time.
Very nice to talk to you as always, and glad to see you back on good form as well. MaNa claims first blood in his group, at least. He now has to go through and face a team kill. Yep, it's that time again. It's the Liquid law as we've come to know it at ESL as they go head-to-head in our winners game, but that's coming up a little bit later on. Next up, we have a survival for the fittest. It's Major versus viOlet. One of them is going home, and one of them stays to live for another day. We'll find out after the break.